Hello, I'm Rebecca Flaherty and today we're going to be making this cool cherry pattern here. This is a beginner level tutorial, although if you've never made a pattern using the diamond method before, then you might want to start with this video, which has a complete introduction to this way of making patterns in Procreate, so that you can understand some of the why as well as the how. To follow along this tutorial, the only things you will literally need are your iPad and Procreate. I'm going to be doing it using my pattern maker canvas and using the fruit stamp brush set from my freebie library on my website. If you don't have the pattern maker canvas, you will just need to create a square document. This one here is a 12-inch canvas, 300 dpi. I'll just turn off the textures and turn off this diamond layer here. On an empty layer, you'll just need to create a diamond like that. The easiest way to do that is probably just to fill a layer with colour. Tap to transform, rotate it 45 degrees and choose fit to canvas. Then add a layer above and just with any old brush, just draw a rough diamond shape but going all the way off the edges of the canvas like that. You can then delete the filled layer underneath, we won't be using that one. And the key thing here is that the diamond needs to go all the way to the edges of the canvas on each one of these. It doesn't matter if it's slightly wonky, as long as it goes off the edges in all directions, you're good to go with this. If you want a ready-made canvas with this diamond on it, if I just delete this one, then my pattern making canvas comes with these texture overlay layers, which you can't see because it's quite a light background colour, but if I change this to this green colour, you can see it's got this seamless texture overlays up here in the textures folder, and then in the layers folder here, it's got a sketch folder where we'll be working on our layout, and it's got this sketch diamond in there for you, all perfectly laid out, so you have that extra visual check that everything's all lining up. And then you've got your pattern group and your extra group up here, which will be illustrating the final motifs then. So let's jump right in with the tutorial and I'll talk about everything else as we go along. So I'm going to change the background colour back to this light one here. We might switch that around later, but we're going to be doing cherries for this one. So I'm going to go on my draw here first layer, and I'm going to grab these stamp brushes from my fruit set. So let's start with this cherries one here. So what I'm going to do is fill this middle diamond with these fruit stamps. Not going to worry too much about where things might be clashing at the edges, because I think it's better just to get everything in and then adjust it when you can actually see what's there. And also it'll give me a good opportunity to show you how to figure things out, as opposed to if I just get it perfect first time, which I'm not going to do anyway, but right, I think there's probably enough bits on there to be going on with. So let's merge all of these into one layer and then merge it down with our sketch diamond. So now we've got all our motifs on the sketch diamond layer. So I'm going to duplicate this, turn snapping on, and I'm going to use this to fill in these blanks around the outside. Let's drag that down over to the side there. We've got that one clashing, but that's okay, we can fix that in just a moment. That's what this part of the process is for. And that's why we like it, because it means we get to play around with the motifs and we only have to spend our time illustrating the motifs that we actually need at the end. So now I'm going to merge these four layers here together. So I've got these ones around the outside and these ones in the middle. I'm going to invert the colours on this layer so that we can easily see what's what. And then on my bottom layer, we can go in and move these things around. Need to do something about this clash here. I think actually probably I can just erase this one. I think I probably just don't need this one. Don't worry about erasing some of the bits of the diamond there. It's still going to snap into place when we move it around, as long as you haven't erased the bit that touches the edges in the corners. So don't worry about moving or erasing parts of the edges there. So we've taken that one out. So now this one, we just want to move that one. But what I'm thinking is I've got these curvy ones here, here and here. And this one would probably be better if it was this more pointy one. So I'll erase this one as well. And then with my select tool, I'm going to grab this one and swipe down with 3 fingers, and I'm going to duplicate it. And then I can bring this one down here. Just turn snapping off. There we go. And then probably, let's make this one point the other way because I like how this one's going that way, that one's going that way, but then it's kind of too similar to this one, plus these are also pointing that way. So I think this one's going to look better if we point it in the other direction. Make sure I'm on the right layer. And we can let that one go there. Now this one's going to need repositioning. It's definitely at this point worth getting rid of the blue around the outside. I'm going to merge that duplicated one in with there, and then we're going to repeat that, moving it around the edges. So let's invert this layer, and that's looking a lot more balanced now. One thing that I'm aware of is that I've got a gap here off the edges, and we're going to need to bring our edges into the middle to do that. Before we do that though, I'm going to test the pattern and see what it's looking at like in repeat. So I'll just undo the invert first, swipe down with 3 fingers and copy all. Come up here to the top, swipe down with 3 fingers and tap paste, and then I'm going to drag this corner up here and snap it to 1800 pixels up into this top left corner. Then I'm going to duplicate this across to the right and snap it into place, pinch those two together, duplicate, and bring those to the bottom. And now we can see how this is looking in repeat, and it's a good opportunity to see if which motifs are too close together, which are too far apart, and if you've got kind of some all pointing in one direction. Like this is the part where I said I felt like it was probably missing something, so I think we probably have got space to put another one in there. This probably could come down that way, that one could move over a little bit, and this one could shuffle up a bit. But this is how you zoom out and see what needs to be moved around. So let's hide that now. Let's move the edges into the middle so that we can put the missing cherry in its place. So I'm going to duplicate this top layer, bring it over to the left and snap it to the side. I'll do this one a bit more slow so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring this over and snap it there. I've got orange line going along the edge of the canvas so I know it's snapping into place, and because I've got these crosshairs I can zoom into the middle and I've got my nice straight line there so I know that it's all lined up. So I can pinch those two together, and the bottom layer I can duplicate and bring over to this side and do the same, and now instead of a diamond we've got an X because we've brought the edges of the diamond into the middle, and you can see from here that this is all lined up nicely. So I can pinch those two bottom ones together, and I'm going to invert the colours on the top layer again. So it's just the orange ones that we need to be moving around. I don't think it really matters whether we use one of these curvy ones or one of the more triangular ones because we've got an equal number of those all around. So I'm going to add a layer. So let's put that one, maybe we could rotate this one a bit more. So we could have that one there. Remember, this is on a different layer, so I can still move things around underneath it. And let's move this one up and out of the way a little bit. So we'll just move that there so it's out of the way, and then we'll bring the edges back into the middle, and then we'll have a shuffle around when it's back into a diamond. So I'm going to merge these cherries down onto my main one. Because we've changed stuff in the main pattern, I'm going to delete the duplicated one around the outside because that doesn't match up with it anymore. So we can duplicate this layer and put it back into the middle with snapping and magnetics on. There we go. And again, you can zoom in and verify that that's all back in the right place. So now you can see we've got this cherry perfectly repeated on this side and on that side of the canvas. So now we can put these around the outside, and again I can't stress enough, if this is confusing you and you've never made a pattern like this before, then check out the beginner video that I have, which goes into all the why as well as the how and explains it in a lot more detail than I am here. Now we can just have a jiggle around and get all of these in the right place. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and speed things up while I do this, and then you'll get to see in almost real time how long this part actually takes when it's a more complicated pattern, as opposed to the bananas last week, which were a bit more easy. Right, so I think I'm finally happy with this. So this is what I'm with now. This was one version back where it was just this one here that I felt needed rotating a little bit. And if I hide the one underneath, this is compared to the original one that had the gaps there. So that's where we're at now. Spend as much time as you need to in that jiggling around and getting everything right in its place phase. So we can delete all 3 of those now, and we're ready to start illustrating our motifs. And actually, although we put this one here on the extra group because it went off the edges here, because we moved it up a little bit, it's actually fully intact down here. So what we can do when we're illustrating the main motifs in our pattern group, we can draw it down here rather than off to the side, and then we don't have to put it in the extra group and do that kind of offset thing. So that's always a little extra thing to look out for. When you put something on the extra group here, have a look and see if that motif there, if it's intact somewhere else on the pattern, you can absolutely illustrate this one instead of that one there, because that's going to be easier and you don't need to do any extra bits and pieces then. So in our pattern group on this layer here, let's just turn the pattern group on. You'll see the little marker come up, and in this layer here I'm going to start drawing the cherries. I'm going to draw them in colour first, and then once I've got all the motifs in place, I'm going to fill them with white and then add scribbled colour over the top, but we'll just draw them in colour for now because that's going to be easier. So let's draw these cherries nice and red, and as always I'm going to use my tracing crayon. And then remember, with this one here, we were going to illustrate it down the bottom here. So if that applies to your layout and you've got something that you put in the extra section but it's actually intact somewhere else, then go for that one. And now we'll put the stalks in. So we'll do those underneath and then they can be coming out from behind them. So we'll use this nice green colour. Okay, so that's all of our cherries drawn, and I think this is actually going to be a really quick pattern to put together because we're not going to have to do this extra group part. But if you did need to draw motifs here off the edge, then you would draw those in your extra group here. Where you do that, just hide this, swipe down with 3 fingers once you have all of these motifs illustrated and tap copy all. Then turn on your extra group and paste that into it. Then you can duplicate this layer and bring this over to the side just like we did with our sketch. And then you've got this in the middle there, and you'd illustrate this on top of that just the same as our other motifs. So I'll do this one here so that I can show you how you would do that later if you didn't have the option of drawing it at the bottom instead. So we'll just leave that as it is. So we'll hide that one. So back on here, I think what I'm going to do now is choose a background colour. We had pink last week for this one. Let's put my textures back on so we can see how it looks with the texture on, because that affects the colours. I think we'll probably just stay with this green colour for this one. So now we can alpha lock both of these layers and fill them with white. And then I'm going to add a clipping mask above the cherries. And then with my fun sketcher brush, I'm going to scribble over it and add that cool scribbled look over the top. And then we'll do the same with the stalks, add a layer above it, clip it down, and we use this nice green colour and scribble these in. Don't forget you can get the colour palette that I'm using here in the freebie library on my website, along with all the stamp brushes. Right, let's see if we can sort out this background colour, because I'm not really loving it. I'm thinking like a teal blue colour would probably look quite nice for this. Let's go on to the disc. Yes, that does look nice. And I'll add this one to the palette so you can use it too. Right, now we are ready to put our pattern together. So I'm going to hide this pattern marker here. I'm going to collapse the pattern group and I'm going to swipe left and duplicate it. Then I'm going to tap and flatten this one. So now we've got all of this on one layer. I'll hide the rest of it, the main group, and I'm going to bring that up there. If you had motifs in your extra group, you would turn that on, duplicate that group as well, delete the pasted in bit and the extra marker, and then you can flatten that, and then you bring that up. Then you can turn off all of those layers underneath. So if you needed to put your cherries here over onto the edges, the way you would do that, in case you've not watched any of these tutorials before, is put a mark going off the corners here, and then duplicate this layer and bring it over there, and then bring this one over there. You can pinch to merge those, and then you've got that in the exact place it needs to be. So if you had stuff that you had illustrated off the edges and you needed to keep it off the edges in your extra group, that's how you would do it. But like I said, on this occasion, I was able to draw it down there, so I didn't use the extra group. If you had used that, you pinch those two together, but I'm gonna delete that now. So yours would all now be on one layer, the same as mine, and you would just proceed the same way I'm going to from now. So I'm going to put a mark on the corners of this one, and then we're going to build that around the outside. So what we can do now is pinch to merge these top 4 layers together, erase that bit in the middle, and erase those as well. And now that is our pattern tile finished. So we can merge these two together now, and if you wanted to export this, you could save it as a JPEG or a PNG, and then you can upload this to Spoonflower or Redbubble. In terms of copyright and licensing, you're welcome to use it on places like Spoonflower and Redbubble, as long as you've made it your own in some way by changing the layout, the size and the colours. But as always, do bear in mind that you won't be able to license it anywhere under any kind of exclusive terms, because the motifs have been used first here by me, so they're not exclusive to whoever you're promising they're exclusive to, and also other artists are going to be making patterns with these motifs. So if you license this anywhere using the words exclusive in any part of your promise or your contract or your deal or your terms, you could wind up in trouble if you've told your buyer they're buying an exclusive design and then they see these motifs either in this tutorial or in somebody else's artwork. But as I said, you do have my permission to make patterns to sell on Spoonflower or Redbubble with these in, as long as you change up the positioning, the colours, etc. So let's put this into a little preview here now so we can see how this is tiling. So I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers, I'm going to copy all, I'm going to come up to the top here and tap paste. Then we can bring this up just like we did with building our preview earlier to 1800 pixels. Then we can duplicate this, bring it over, duplicate it and bring it down. And as always, it's worth zooming into the middle there just to make sure that that's not looking dodgy, and is not, so we're good to go. And that is the finished pattern in repeat. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this pattern and are eager to make your own. I can't wait to see your finished patterns over on Instagram. Don't forget to tag me at Rebecca Flaherty so I can see them and share them in my stories. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. All the links for everything I've used in the video are in the description, and if you want to see more videos like this every week, then make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. As well as sharing tutorials here, I'm also one of Skillshare's top teachers, and that's where you'll find all of my premium in-depth classes. If you're not already a Skillshare member, then use the link below and you'll get a month for free when you sign up. You'll get access to all of my classes, as well as all the other great teachers' classes that are already on Skillshare. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you next time.